Radio Rahim here with Andre Ward. Andre, first of all, congratulations, Super 6 champion, WBC champion. But I heard today that you're going to be a new father again with the fourth child. First of all, before we get into the boxing thing, just talk to me about how that feels.
That's great. It tore me up to not be there for my wife's first trimester. But she understood that, this is what we have to do to obviously get to where we're trying to get as a family, and just bet, for me to accomplish my personal goals. So it was a lot of sacrifice this last 2 months and missing out on that. But to know that I'm home with her, I can take care of her and give her a break is just a tremendous feeling.
Now, earlier you talked about how your kids look at this. You have a 10-year-old son. I'm sure he's so proud. And this time out, it seems like you've gotten more accolades. The press has finally kind of broken that dam and given you the credit and the due respect. Talk to me about, before this achievement, what do you think was holding them back? Why is it now they're giving you these kind of props?
I don't know. I really don't know what the answer is. I just know that, winning cures a lot in this sport. Getting your hand raised, and that's just the way it is. So that's what I want to keep doing, is just continue to win, but continue to put on great performances. Again, my theme the last week and a half, 2 weeks is, the best is yet to come, and that's just truly how I feel deep in my heart. This was a great victory, a good performance, but I feel like great victories and great performances are still yet to come.
What we saw in you in the ring, I think, may have contributed to the response that you've gotten after this win. You've been doing a lot of winning. That's nothing new. But your aggression in the ring, your sense of determination seemed to be at a higher level. Can you explain to me why that was?
It had to be, based on what was on the line, the Ring Magazine belt, the WBC belt, the WBA belt, and then obviously, after 2.5 years of a long road, the Super 6 Cup. When you have that kind of hardware on the line, those kind of accolades on the line, you're dealing with a serious man on the opposite side of the ring. So I had to be like-minded. I had to have the same type of mentality. Even the Showtime crew, when they came to shoot my training, they said, you seem to be more focused. You seem to be in another zone. And I didn't necessarily feel that way. I just felt like I was going about my business as usual. But they saw it. And I had to be like that because I was fighting a very tough Englishman, very proud. He had his fans there, and he did not want to lose. He had a long ride home if he lost that fight. So we just had to be like-minded going into this fight.
Now, that Englishman, he was not nearly as polite as his tradition may expect. Did his disrespect, to some extent, of you in the pre-fight have anything to do with the motivation or the way your mentality was in the ring?
Absolutely. I was already motivated, but for some reason they felt like they wanted to motivate me, a little bit more. And, a lot of that is just gamesmanship, and I understand that. But, the only part that I didn't like was just when they tried to mock my nickname. I felt like they crossed the line. They said some things about my faith, and that's when, it really got to me. And that was something he said probably a couple weeks before, and then at the weigh-in, they had a chant which mocked my nickname, and then at the fight. So when you hear that kind of thing on top of what's already on the line, I mean, you don't need any more motivation. If you can't get up for that moment, you're not going to get up for any moment.
Now, I'll admit to you, my question originally, before I got to the conference, was going to be, how was it that you didn't accomplish a knockdown or even a knockout with what you were able to hit him with? I think we now know. So I have to turn to this fracture in your hand. You say you didn't know, but you thought it was a deep bruise. But, professional fighters, athletes on this level, they know their bodies. Yeah. Now, you may not have said anything, but what did you feel? Did you know?
I said it, right after it happened, and it was hard to get those words out of my mouth because obviously we're 8 days before the fight and you don't even want to talk like that. But I kept telling my team, I said, it feels like a fracture. I'm not saying it's a fracture, but it feels that way. And them trying to be positive, they came up with all sorts of stuff. Maybe you struck a nerve, maybe it's a bruise, anything but a fracture. But I felt like that, the whole way through leading up to the fight. But again, and to be honest, I was concerned. I was highly concerned because of the pain that I felt. And I felt the pain with 16-ounce gloves on in sparring, the last couple of days before the fight. So I couldn't imagine how I was going to feel with a 10-ounce glove on. But we got through it. And, it's difficult to get knockouts at the A level. And, I challenge anybody to look at records and see who's getting knockouts at the A level. It can be done, and I believe that as I keep maturing, keep settling down, they're going to come. But we hit Froch with some great shots, but couldn't really hit them the way we wanted to and follow up. And I think that possibly stopped us from getting a knockdown or a knockout. But, again, the best is yet to come. I'm still maturing, still getting stronger, and still improving.
Just last thing on the hand, knowing that a fracture is only one punch away from a break. A break is only 1 second away from a loss. Going into that fight, in that 6th round, when you felt it, just talk to me about inside. What was it that carried you on and said, you know what, I'm going to take 6 more rounds like this without losing the opportunity to win this tournament?
Well, I've said it all the way through. I felt like I was in that position for a reason. Saying that doesn't mean that it's going to be easy. And that's what I had to accept, leading into the fight. Okay, your first mind is, why is this happening? I mean, not right now. This is unbelievable. But I settled down. My coach, Verge, talked to me. My wife talked to me and said, listen, the same way you felt before this happened, you need to stay mentally the same way. And I did that. So, after I re-injured it in the 6th round, I just try to take it one round at a time. One round at a time.
You're not known for calling guys out, but you have called one guy out before, and I think it's the guy you want next. Talk to me about Lucien Brute.
Well, Bute's a good fighter. It's hard to say how good he is until he fights A-level competition, and that's not a knock on him. That's just the reality. We've been able to do that. I don't know the different nuances with the negotiations prior to the Super 6 and why he wasn't in the tournament. I just feel like he had his opportunity to be in the tournament, and he chose to opt out. And he's kind of sat on the sidelines and fought a certain level of competition. He's done what he's supposed to do with that level of competition. He's got him out of there. But he's also had a period of rest when the combatants in the Super 6 have been grinding for the past 2.5 years. And I just think he needs to fight some tougher fights, fight some A-level guys, and I think eventually the fight will be made.
Being the champion, but wanting the fight, would you be willing to fight him on his turf? Would you go to Canada? Would you go outside of the States to fight him, even though that you're bringing the belts to the equation?
Well, anything's an option. So we'll sit down and we'll see what's on the table. I'm not necessarily excited about some of the things we saw in Canada from things being fair. But, hey, we'll sit down and see what's on the table. Anything and everything's an option. We just have to narrow it down and see what's the best option for Team Ward.
Andre Ward, it's a pleasure and an honor.
You,
Newfound WBC champion, Super 6 champion, Radio Rahim with Andre Ward. Congratulations, champ.